FCS fans nation, to another episode of One AA Parlays, a place where we talk about betting in the FCS. I'm your host, Colby Peterson. On the show, as always, with me this week, Montana Parlay. We took a week off last week, had some things come up, but this week, back in the saddle, had to move the show a little bit. This is sort of my fault because I wanted to go to the Furman-Chattanooga game on Saturday morning because it looks... it's going to be fire, man. So sorry that you're getting this so late tonight as opposed to tomorrow morning, but here we are. Parlay, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Needed a week off. You know, me and Vegan took a week off. Wait, I shouldn't say that. But, hopefully both of us will be fresh this week, and I don't even want to talk about the bets I made on my own last week. I want to, just like the Bobcats game plan, I want to completely flush it away and come back strong this week.
Yeah, I think last week was rough for me too. I'd have to go back and look in my betting app, but I don't think I did super well either. And I think that part of my problem was I got a little too greedy and added like a third leg to parlays that shouldn't have had it. So like you hitting on two, and then your third doesn't hit, so you lose it all. I did a lot of that.
Well, I ended a subpar FCS weekend by betting on the Chicago Bears. So, yeah, that was great.
Oh, man, rough weekend for sure. Well, before we get into the bets and talking about what's up, we want to shout out FCS Fans Nation, the Fans Nation Network. We appreciate them for letting us do this show on their network, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you have a chance, make sure to go check out all the good content for FCS Fans Nation and the Fans Nation Network. There's a UAC podcast. They've got obviously the main show, FCS Fans Nation, which they usually record on Sunday and put out on Mondays. Really appreciate that show. There's lots of good content, all kinds of stuff. So make sure to go check them out on YouTube or just get them in your podcast feed, whichever works best for you. All right, man, let's talk, Parlay, a little bit about, I don't know, I mean, we don't want to talk, I guess, too much about last week because, like you said, it was rough. We could, sort of maybe we could let folks know how the last time we saw them, our weekly parlay did not go the way we had hoped. That Western Carolina Furman game did not have as many points as I thought it was going to have, so nowhere near that over.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we couldn't watch it because streaming wasn't working, and that was a bummer. I was really looking forward, and I think I might want to place a bet on sorry, it's a combo fax machine. I just got a comment coming through.
Love that.
And it can be used for that, It's hasn't been done that for a while. I don't even think I could find a phone line to plug it into. But I wanted to watch that game, and because I'm thinking about betting on Furman this week. We'll see when I make the picks. And that would have been a fun game to watch. I try to keep up. SoCon might be making a comeback. Maybe they're overrated. Who knows?
We'll see.
Hard to tell when you can't watch the marquee matchup of the week. So,
yeah, that was a bummer because, the whole time sitting there like, oh, man, I was thinking about going to that game. It was so much hype around that game. And then not only was I not able to go, you straight couldn't watch it on ESPN Plus. Some huge problem.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The SoCon is in an interesting spot because it looked like maybe there would be a few teams that would rise to the top. Western Carolina kind of faltered, not just the week against the Furple, but also the following week against Mercer, who's trying to make this big playoff push, right? So it was kind of sort of tempered my expectations on WCU and kind of where they're at right now. I think losing Desmond Reed has really hurt them more than I think maybe they anticipated because Cole Gonzalez has been really great for them, but, man, Desmond Reed has been maybe the secret sauce to what they do. About some other comments, Parlay, about last week's games. Anything else you want to shout out before we get into your picks for this week?
I think this week we're really going to see some stuff shake out across the board. The Dakota schools, the non-state schools really let some people down, I think. Lowered expectations after they were sky high, probably too high. But South Dakota and North Dakota both laid absolute eggs. And going from potential seeds, and as far as South Dakota was thinking, a potential top 3 seed if they could have pulled off a win there or kept it close and then won out. And now it's like, well, South Dakota should make the playoffs, but North Dakota probably.
Yeah, they've had some huge letdowns, right? Where it's just like, seriously, what happened here? Because after beating North Dakota State, it looked like, wow, maybe the Fighting Hawks are for real. And then, bam, bam, all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe not.
Some of these teams are a little different on the road. Although, I mean, South Dakota was at home against South Dakota State. But I think that's just more proof that, the SIU game was a little bit of an outlier. South Dakota State is just head and shoulders above everyone else. I was hoping that wasn't true as a Bobcat fan, but I think that it is. And look out. So who knows? Things can happen. At the end of the day, they're still college kids. Any given Saturday, so to speak. But the cream of the crop is definitely rising, and the pretenders are kind of showing their true colors.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, Parlay, let's talk about this week because, like I said, we got a couple of big marquee matchups. We were able to get some early lines that we felt we had enough to talk to you folks here tonight about what is going to be out there tomorrow morning. A lot of the betting apps don't usually have stuff that you can legally bet on until a couple of hours before kickoff. So some of this is preview, just ballparking it. Parlay, what do you got this week?
So, of course, the Dakota marker is a big one. Yep. And when my brother and I, Big Sky Oh My on Twitter, were picking lines, we didn't officially post that one. He thought it was going to be 7.5. I said, no way, it's going to be. I actually said it was going to be 11.5 or 12. The early line is 11.5. I really want to bet on South Dakota State. I didn't pick that one in my picks because I have this stinking feeling that, this is going to be a kitchen sink game for North Dakota State. It's going to be one of those where, you look the eye test from a couple games, and the model, so to speak, will say South Dakota State should win by 17 or more. But that's a stay away from me for now, at least. I'll think about it Saturday. But I did want to mention it because it's a big matchup. So, yeah, go ahead.
There's potential there, right? South Dakota State could cover, and the game is in Brookings this year, right?
In Brookings, and it's less than 2 touchdowns. You would think they should cover that, even though, a coach, when he's up by 9 or more points, 8 or more points, he's not necessarily looking to cover the spread, right? Now, in a rivalry game, if they could beat them by 20, they'd love it. But, late in the game, NDSU could get that backdoor cover. So I'm going to think about that one more. But on the topic of big matchups, Furman is on the road at Chattanooga.
At Chattanooga, yep.
And my feeling since the beginning of the year, back when who was that SoCon team that just dropped off the map? Samford was getting the hype.
Yeah. Because they looked good last year, right? They looked good, and it looked like that was going to carry over, and it totally has not this year.
Furman was my pick as as ardent SoCon follower. That's tongue in cheek. But Furman was my pick from the beginning of the year, and I'm going to ride with him. It's basically a pick 'em. Furman +1 is my first pick of the week. And I hope that I can actually watch this game on ESPN Plus because that'll be a good one. Chattanooga, they're coming. They're looking good recently. So it'll be a tough matchup. Furman's had a run of tough games, and this is a road game. And as we've seen with the Montana State Bobcats, when you run off these road games, one after the other, tough game, one right after the other, it's not easy, even if you are, quote unquote, the better team on paper. Sorry to offend any Idaho fans out there. So speaking of Idaho, I love losing money on Northern Colorado. I just can't get enough of it. I just want to lose as much as possible on the worst team in the FCS, or at least in the Big Sky, not counting the Pioneer League. So I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to bet the under 53 on Idaho, Northern Colorado. ever since Northern Colorado pulled it out of their ass to score 21 points against Washington State, a pretty damn good Pac-12 team, Pac-2 team, whatever, they can't score in the Big Sky. And of course, I didn't want them to score in that game and needed them to score sometimes in the last few games. So now that I'm going to bet the under, they're definitely scoring at least 20 points against the Vandals. But the way I see this game going is Idaho wins 32-10. So that 53-point total should be safe towards the under. Should be. But again, I love losing money on Northern Colorado, so you might want to avoid this one. Hanging with over-unders, South Dakota, and I'm going to have to cross state lines or get some help to bet this one because there's an Illinois betting law where I can't bet games that include Illinois teams, and this one is in Carbondale. I just checked the weather because I was really confused. I know South Dakota laid an egg last week. I know SIU has played some good defense, and they laid an egg at Youngstown, but they still have a good QB. South Dakota still has the potential to run up the score. It's going to be 70 degrees or damn near 70 degrees in Carbondale tomorrow. And 37.5, that's like Big Ten territory over under. That's like an Iowa Northwestern style rock fight.
There we go. That's for the sickos out there.
So 37.5, I mean, when you got two FCS teams that both are capable of putting up points, there must be something going on I'm not aware of, or this is one of those fishy early lines and it's going to end up opening at 45.5. But if you can get an over 37.5 or anything under 42, jump on it. That's a 1.5 or 2 unit play in my opinion. So over 37.5 in the South Dakota at SIU game. And then finally, I was dumb enough to bet on them last week, and like I alluded to earlier, anytime you can lose money on one of the three worst teams in the Big Sky, you have to do it. But you know what? They might not be the third worst team in the Big Sky.
Yeah, I know.
That title might belong to a team out of Ogden, Utah, called Weber State, who's going to be on the road in the worst dome in America. Probably. Great social media team. Horrible field, horrible dome. So
shout out to the jungle. Yeah. Those dudes are doing it, man. Love those dudes.
They're getting 8.5 at home.
Yeah.
Against an anemic offense, just an absolutely awful offense. Like Weber is coming off a bye. They know they've got whatever their record is against Idaho State. It's pretty absurd. It's like
we haven't lost to Idaho State since 2014. We have lost 3 times to them since 2002, maybe only twice. Yeah, we've only lost twice since 2002. So even in our bad years, you could always beat the Stripes. But this year, it's a different team.
They probably will win, but are they going to win by 9 or more points? I think not. So
not the way Weaver's been this year.
I like ISU plus 8.5. And you know what? I think I'm going to go 3-1 this week. So we'll see. Pick them all and win some money. And as always, I give out the little special for those Montana people. And really good if you're on the border of Montana and Wyoming, because Montana has Sports Bet Montana. You got to find one of those damn kiosks. Wyoming has the FanDuels and the Bet Rivers and all those apps that have more of the national lines. So Montana posts Cat and Grizz lines early, and sometimes they are more skewed towards the home team because they get a lot of homers betting on the games. Right now, Montana State is plus or minus 27.5 against NAU. That's a big number. Early lines elsewhere is at 21.5. That's a 6-point arbitrage chance. The Grizz, are hot. They're on fire. They found their QB, and now they've found another QB. They're giving 3.5 against Sac, which, man, I don't know. Yes, they beat Idaho, but Sac should be able to run the ball and control the clock against the Grizz. And winning that game by 4 or more is going to be a tall task. And that early line elsewhere outside of the state of Montana is 1. And that's a pretty key number. So if you could get Montana -1 and Sac plus 3.5, you've got a chance to win both sides on that one. So, the Montana State game, even though that's a bigger point spread, the fact that it's a higher one, you actually have less of a chance, I believe, statistically, to win both sides if you take both sides. But I would fade both Montana teams at Sportsbet Montana if I was there placing money on those cursed kiosks. All right, I've taken enough time. What do you got?
So I like what you're saying about some of these other ones, right? Like NAU. NAU's been a weird team this year where they've been very competitive. A lot of that, though, has been it's always difficult to play them in Flagstaff. Weird things happen in Flagstaff. This game is not in Flagstaff. Montana State has what's your guys' home win record right now? It's like
22, I think.
8. Oh, I thought it was more than that, but it is just massive. So I look at a Bobcat team who just lost to Idaho on the road, tough pill to swallow, trying to bounce back now, coming back home against an NAU team who has been plucky, but I don't know, man. 27 is a lot of points, so I might consider. If it's 27, I'd probably take NAU plus 27. But we were talking about this earlier. Another line we saw was plus 21.5.
Yeah.
If it's 21.5, how do you feel about that parlay?
To me, that's a stay away. Yeah, it's definitely a stay away. I bet on the Cats last week like an idiot against Idaho after Idaho was reeling off a loss and had a bye, and after the Bobcats had a late game in Sac. I should have known better. On paper, we should have won by 20, but games aren't played on paper. And that being said, they probably do come out and just kick some ass this week.
There it is.
So
home winning record right there from Ron. 24.
So
24 in a row.
I'd lean towards Bobcats plus 20 or minus 21.5, but I definitely lean NAU plus 27.5. Yeah. Either side I don't love.
All right. So I just wanted to agree with you there that could be interesting. Yeah, so it doesn't tell us who it is, but agree. 21, stay away from NAU. Probably so. 3 touchdowns. If it's 21.5, you'd have to score slightly more than 3 touchdowns, but still, I don't know. This is going to be an angry Bobcats team who's looking to right the ship, and the Jacks are getting them at probably just the wrong time. Plus, the game is in Bozeman. Bozeman's hard to win in, folks. All right, man. So for me, taking a look over what we had, I didn't love a lot of the spreads from the initial lines that we had. There wasn't a lot that I looked at and went, I like that. I agree with you on the Furman +1. Chat lost to Western Carolina in Chattanooga on homecoming by 2 points. It was absolute shootout, 52-50, right? That's an offense that Furman absolutely shut down. So that leads me to believe that if that's the case, then what would stop Furman from doing the exact same thing to the Mocs this weekend in Chattanooga and win handily? If it's Furman +1, hey, you're printing money, because I think that they're going to probably do a little bit better. So Kevin Marshall earlier had said, free money in that FU game. Chats without Ford, can't run without him. It's that kind of intel. Give a shout out to Kevin and Stone doing good work at FCS Nation Radio. Go check those guys out as well. I don't know if we can cross promote what we just did. we always check those guys out as well and get some intel like that about the fact that Ford's not going to be in the backfield for the mocks tomorrow. So look, I'm going to have a lot of over-unders in mind, Parlay. First one that I saw that I thought might be interesting was in the Ivy League. Harvard has taken on Columbia. So Harvard has had some stumbles in recent weeks. They looked like an absolute juggernaut, and then they've lost some games. Columbia's bad. They're really bad. But there's some complicating factors here. One of the things, so Harvard has an absolutely awesome offense. They have the best offense in the Ivies. They're doing a great job. I can't remember what the number was. They're averaging like 37 points a game in conference. So they look really good. Here's their problem. They have an absolutely atrocious pass defense. Like the worst in the conference far and away. So I look at that and I go, okay, I've got this offense that's very potent that could potentially put up, averaging 37 points against a bad Columbia team who's averaging like 12 or something in conference play. But also we've got this defense that just absolutely stinks when it comes to passing the ball. So could Columbia punch above their weight and get a little bit more in there? Yeah, they could. The over-under is set at 38.5. Harvard averaging about that by themselves, at like 37 or so. If Columbia can just score a touchdown through the air, which seems like very likely could happen, Columbia has this middling pass defense in conference, and so they may be able to hold Harvard a little bit under. But I look at 38.5 with that offense and maybe something from the other side and go, yeah, I think I'd take that. So for me, Harvard, Columbia over at 38.5. Next up, we're going to the CAA, and we're going to be talking about Parlay's favorite, Bill and Mary. We're talking Bill and Mary and this over-under against Albany. Albany has been a surprise. I mean, I guess if you weren't paying attention to the CAA, I don't pay a lot of attention to them because I don't have Flow Sports because I simply won't pay for it. So I don't watch any CAA games once conference play starts. But Albany has been very good. They've been not the best team in the CAA. That title, I think, goes to Delaware. But they've been good. And so Bill and Mary has been underwhelming, I think. Is that fair this year? They came in preseason ranked, what, Parlay, like 4 or 5, something like this.
That was another thing I was early on, is that they were not a top 10 team, and yet people were ranking them in the top 5. So
yeah, especially the way they played. Did you guys play them? I think you guys played them in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, we won like 52.
Smashed them. Yeah, just absolutely smashed them. So yeah, I look at this and I go, okay, Bill and Mary, their offense has been almost as terrible as Weber State's this year. Shout out to my Wildcats. And so I look at that and go, okay, that offense has been really, really anemic. Albany has been good, not awesome, and William and Mary's defense is good. So they have this way of, they don't score a lot of points themselves, but they have this way of like dragging other teams down with them. And then the other team doesn't usually score a lot of points either. So they've been hitting a lot of unders this season. This week, the under is set at 40.5. I like it. I like 40.5 with Bill and Mary in Albany. I don't know that they're going to score a lot of points. And like I said, they like to drag opposing offenses down with them. 40.5 looks comfortable to me. I'm going to take the under. Next up, we're going to go back to the SoCon, talk about Western Carolina. They're on a 2-game skid now after losing to Furman 2 weeks ago in that game that nobody could watch unless you were in town, which I was not. And then they turn around and they lose to Mercer by a touchdown last week, which was a huge heartbreaker. It was another shootout game, but lose by a touchdown to a Mercer team that's trying to make a push for the playoffs. Wofford is not a good team in the SoCon. They're not the worst team, but they're not a great team either. I look at this and I go, okay, could potentially be the game where Western Carolina bounces back. They find their rhythm. They're able to get things going again, put up a lot of points again. They put up a lot of points last week. So they're their outing against Furman was sort of this outlier. Normally they were putting up, 35 plus points a game until they met the Paladin defense. But Wofford is not a great team. I look at this and go, okay, I think that Cole Gonzalez is going to get it done this week. He had a career. Here's the thing. He had a career game last weekend. He threw for like 350 yards or something. It was like his career high, and they still lost. So that defense needs some work, man. But I look at this game and I go, okay, Western Carolina going to bounce back. Wofford is okay, not great. They could probably put some points on the board because Western Carolina's defense has not been it. Over-under set at 55.5. I like the under. We've seen that Western Carolina can put up 50 points by themselves in the right situation. Against Chattanooga, for example, they put up 52. So,
what you mean the over?
Yeah, sorry, I did say the over 55.5. I like the over because I think that they could easily put up 50 plus points, and we've seen it. Kevin Marshall here saying Western Carolina turned it over 6 times in that game last week. Whew. That'll do it for you, right? Got to hold on to the ball. And you're just giving it away, and you lose by a touchdown to Mercer, giving them a chance to keep their playoff hopes alive. But thanks for the correct parlay. I like the over with Western Carolina and Wofford at 55.5. Then final one, Portland State coming in at plus 4.5 against Davis. Davis has just sort of kind of been like this. They haven't been great, kind of trending down. I think the hype died the week after they beat Weber State. I can't remember who they played, and they lost, and it was like, yeah, this isn't a playoff team. Portland State has had a great offense this year, back to Barney basics, and really getting the job done on the offensive side of the ball, which is what Barney's good at. They've been putting up a lot of points. With Davis kind of trending downward and Portland State being able to put up a lot of points on teams, Sachere's done a great job up there. I think I like Portland State at plus 4.5 to beat Davis, or at least keep it close. The game is in Davis this weekend, so those are my picks for what I got this weekend.
I like that one too. I think Portland State's a better team. I know it's on the road, but when they're a better team and they're getting 4.5, the crazy box score of the week last week though was the Davis at NAU game. NAU won by 17, but Davis had like 250 more yards and only one more turnover. So like the turnovers that they had must have been in the worst possible position. The stats make no sense, like absolutely no sense. So, maybe Davis is still a better team overall, but because that box score didn't make any sense. But I still, the reason I didn't pick this, I'll let you have it now, is that Portland State kind of seems like they will look ahead to a game, and they've got the Grizz next week.
Oh,
the week before the Eastern game, and you saw that social media video with the president lifting the weights. That was hilarious. They obviously were taking Eastern seriously, but the week before that, they got their butts kicked by Idaho State. And Idaho's like, that shouldn't happen to a team like the way Portland State's been playing this year.
Yeah.
So that would be the one fear. I think Portland State's better than UC Davis. I think UC Davis has been playing poorly, but that Portland State team might be looking ahead to the Grizz a little bit. So we'll see.
I also think that Miles Hastings likes to go dink and dunk. He likes to get these little short passes and move the chains. We saw that this year when the Wildcats played Davis, and last year when they played in Davis. Far and away, it was a really similar game with Weber State and Davis last year, where Davis moved the ball a lot, but they couldn't get it done when it mattered. Once the field started to shorten and they get in the red zone, they had a bad kicker too. So they just didn't put up a lot of points in that game, even though they were moving the chains. Feels like that's kind of what happened. Miles Hastings is dink and dunk. He likes to, get these little short passes. But when the field shortens up and the defense has, that space goes away, it's not as easy. And they don't have an Alonzo Gilliam this year. So that's probably why they just weren't able to get things done against NAU. Portland State, you're right. they're a team that likes to get in these shootouts and ended up losing to Idaho State, who is, I would say, all gas, no brakes. Is that a fair way to talk about them? That's an offensive heavy team. They don't play a lot of defense, but they play an awful lot of offense. And so if you can slow that down, maybe you have a chance. Shout out to Mickey Mental. Just take a note of that for tomorrow. Yeah, so Portland State plus 4.5. You're right. They may be looking ahead to the Grizz because we all know about the love affair between Barney and Bobby. You know, they're just, yeah, probably going to bring a lot of pretzels with them. I don't know. You know how it is. But, yeah, I'll probably put money down on that, maybe half a unit, and just kind of see how it goes.
All right, parlay. What we got cooking for the parlay here?
Yeah, so now we kind of have gone through all the stuff. Give me your picks, man. What do you think are your best? I think we need to right the ship. The last time we did a weekly parlay, we were 1-3. Did not get the USD. USD did not cover against the trees, and that Western Carolina Furman game was nowhere near 63.5 where we said it would be over.
So I think out of mine, I'm going to go with Furman +1. That's going to be my contribution to the parlay.
Furman +1 is a good bet, I think. I think that's printing money, the way Kevin Marshall has said in the chat today. I think for me, I like this Bill and Mary Albany under at 40.5. I think that's going to be mine because, like I said, they just have really drugged teams down with them this year, and that offense is garbage. But the defense is good enough to give other opposing teams problems. So I'm going to go with that. For the third.
So, you know, I like one that I haven't mentioned yet. In a town called Bethlehem, Lehigh is going to give birth to plenty of points. They're not going to win.
Against Holy Cross?
They're not going to win against Holy Cross, but the over is going to hit. So, Holy Cross, Lehigh over 57.5.
Oh, it's only 57? Okay. Yeah, I don't hate that. I like that. Over at 57.5. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't know what to take. Holy Cross has not been the team that I think everybody thought they were. Matt Sluka's still a gamer. I think I saw somebody today post players with the highest offensive rating at every position on the offense. Matt Sluka was the highest rated quarterback in the FCS offensively. So obviously he can play, but Holy Cross has kind of been underwhelming. They've dropped some key games, and I just don't know where they're at. But plenty of points taken over, especially at 57.5. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, Holy Cross, they got a lot of press and a lot of hype for playing decent against the Jackrabbits and their 87 fans for one half of a football game. And they just haven't come through this year. Now they have to win out and beat Army to make the playoffs. If they drop one game the rest of the way, they probably aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. So. Which is quite a turn, right? Because there was a lot of press last year about Holy Cross, about how this is a team on the up, not a great conference, and so it was theirs for the taking, all of that stuff. And now here they are, potentially on the outside looking in. All right, Parlay. Well, that's our picks, man. Like I said, this show, we ended up just doing it a little bit earlier because we had some lines, and hopefully I'm going to be on the road tomorrow morning getting ready for that Furman chat game, which will be at 12:30 Central Time. So got to hit the road from here from Nashville early. But appreciate you. We'll go back through the stuff again. Want to shout out to FCS Fans Nation. Appreciate those guys for letting us do the show on their network. Make sure to follow the Fans Nation Network on YouTube. A lot of great content there. Also, make sure to follow them on Twitter, FCS Fans Nation. And get in on the Facebook group if you're a Facebook person. Not everybody is. But if you are, FCS Fans Nation Facebook group is a great place. I think I can't remember. They were over like 10,000.
I think it's like 17,000.
17,000. Yeah, there's just a lot of people in there. It might seem like it's only Jackrabbit and Grizz fans right now, but there are a lot of other fan bases in there too. So if you're not in there, get in there. It's a good time. A lot of folks they're really great. And if you have anything, you have some things that you want to email them, go ahead and email them at fcsfansnation@gmail.com if you care that much. So, Parlay, that's it. Parting thoughts?
Let's win some freaking bets. That's my
Let's
thought.
win some freaking bets. I'm below 500 this season after last week, and I got to fix that, man. You're still looking good, but I'm just in bad shape. So, like we say always, bet the best and, forget the rest. We'll see you guys on the other side.